we start the day. Yeah, where to start? I think we could picture an iceberg and imagine that there's a 100-mile-an-hour gale blowing in one direction, and there's a 3-mile-an-hour current going in another direction. And we start to ask, which way is that iceberg going to go? And in the gale are all the great things of carbon capture and storage, carbon capture and recycling, waste to energy, biodigestion, all the brilliant technologies that are going to get us out of trouble. The discussion as to whether it should be 350 degrees or 450 degrees, where 2-degree trigger starts, all of that good stuff that we're all familiar with. That's the 100-mile-an-hour gale. But what's happening at the point in which the iceberg touches the water, and what's happening under the water with the 9/10 of this iceberg in the current? Three things come to my mind that I'd like to share. I'll just go through them briefly because this really is a whistle-stop tour. But when Gandhi was asked about Western civilization, what do you think of Western civilization? He said, that would be a good idea. And when people talk to me about capitalism, I say the same. It would be a good idea. What we have at the moment is a system which is based purely on financial capital. We're beginning to see that there are other forms of capital. Pavan will be in the latest looking at the cost to ecosystems for not recognizing the capital that they provide. So he reckons that we're losing between $3 and $5 trillion a year in our destruction of the environment. So we need to be looking at what environmental capital looks like. And why not Heidrick & Struggles? They will be able to put a value on on human talent, on job talent. What about on human capital? What about cultural capital or heritage capital? So we need to rethink our model. Our current model, which is a fractional banking usury-based system, may be appropriate in many circumstances, but may not be appropriate in all. And the market that doesn't value the cost of burning carbon fuel in the atmosphere is a market that hasn't got full knowledge. The other two drivers are much more personal. They are the words security and prosperity. Let's take the first word, security. Security traditionally has meant how I protect myself, how we protect ourselves from each other. We now have a very elegant crisis that is enabling us to look at security in a different way, which is how we come together as a community of interest, as a human society, and deal with a common threat. So this very issue of security that the ego is always looking for can be satisfied now, for the first time in history, by coming together rather than by looking at our differences. Because it's only by coming together that we can deal with the challenge of climate change. The other word is prosperity. While we consider that prosperity means consumption and profligate use of resources, we have a limited lifespan. As soon as we start to look at prosperity in a different way and see it perhaps as more balanced, and see prosperity, true prosperity, as including social justice, environmental sustainability, and what I would call spiritual fulfillment, there are other words for it, quality of life, a deeper connectedness, an understanding of our relationship with the planet on which we live, the cosmos that gave us birth, with each other, and with ourselves. We might find that we find a different level of prosperity, which is much more satisfying. And I think that it's clear that various surveys are showing that after basic survival income streams are satisfied, that quality of life doesn't necessarily improve. So this is where the current's going. So why am I introducing my talk in this way? I'm introducing it this way because it's when we change our minds that the world will change. It isn't going to be the scientists, it isn't going to be what I've organised and am part of are two initiatives. One is in China and one is in Brazil. In China, what we've done is we've taken 6 American cities and 6 Chinese cities, and we are creating a very close collaboration with those 6 cities. They will measure their carbon footprints. They will choose the technologies between them that they want to use. They will measure what's working and what isn't working. But the drivers of that process will not be from the top down, it'll be from the bottom up. And there'll be communities working together at a local level that will dictate to the governance what resources they need to do what they need to do at a local level. We have lots of examples of where local communities coming together are really powerful. Curitiba is perhaps the most famous one. The problem is that this information then gets dissipated. What we want to do, and where Nikolai will explain his system works, is to capture what's working and to capture what's not working. What's not working is only a failure if it remains unpublished. Once it becomes published, then it becomes a success. Once you know that something doesn't work so nobody else goes there, then that's a success, that's not a failure. So to build up a body of coherent information is really important. The drivers of the next 20, 30, 40 years will be education and community. They will be the drivers of the next 30, 40 years. And what we're looking for, what we need to process that, are these systems where communities can be empowered to explain what they need and get resources from higher levels of administration to carry that out. We're doing the same in Brazil, but in Brazil we're taking actually 12 Brazilian cities, so it's not a transnational process. And we want to embed the process that Nikolai is using into that situation as well. What's happening in slow motion, and then I'll hand over to Nikolai to tell you exactly how the system works, is that there is an evolutionary trend that we're on. It's a trajectory. It starts with tribal elders, and the tribe is ruled by knowledge, by their elders. It morphs into a feudal society, which is led by warlords. It then morphs into a society that is either church or monarchy, but gives credence to a higher authority. We then move from there into nation states, from nation states to corporate states, which is what we have at the moment. And corporate states are about to give way to communities of interest. That's the point we are in our evolutionary trajectory. Why are communities of interest really important? They're important because something magic happens in a community of interest. Egg Wheatley's done a lot of research on this. What happens is somehow the community holds information that each individual member of the community doesn't hold in themselves. But by being a part of the community, they have total access to that information, possibly like a hive. So what's happening is Nikolai has evolved a process which captures that. Why it's so powerful is exactly where the 3-mile-an-hour current is going. And that will shift this trajectory, I think, in a really meaningful way. So I'm excited to use his process in China, in the States, in Brazil, because in those immortal words of, I always forget his name, it's an idea whose time has come. What a great way to finish to get
But in a co-creative kind of way, can anybody help us on its idea whose time has come? Or
I think that after 3 o'clock tomorrow morning is wake up.
See, thank you.